Chief.
When I say jurisdiction, it means from February this year, when the court was open, and the court ended at the end of February, March, and then we extended up to June and July. You cannot have a hearing about a decision as a trial judge for what you did in February, because the court has authority to open 4 times a year. When one of those 4 times is up, you can't go back. It is by law. It is not the situation of people agreeing. It is by law.
You believe?
Council,
you were part of the investigation, Council.
Yeah. Maybe many of you did not follow. When we filed a petition, the judge did not decline to issue the rate. The issues we raised, especially when the judge decided to have the investigation, in the absence of the parties that you saw in there, were due process issues. So when we went to the judge said that is a cardinal issue. So in order for us to have a situation, since the judge said he wants to investigate, let us use that to sign a stipulation on the agreement of due process to see that the judge gives the opportunity to everybody to be present and to answer questions, to produce evidence against themselves, against whoever that is against them, and to prove their case or to provide evidence. That was what we agreed. So we signed what we call a stipulation. A stipulation is a joint agreement by the 2 lawyers on both sides, agree on the terms and the conduct of the investigation, even though in that we still maintain that the court did not have jurisdiction. That is why even when we come, the judge said when we come, we should register it as a matter of record. We raise it again as a matter of record. That is the law, that is the practice, that is the procedure. So we raise it as a matter of record that you do not have jurisdiction. He said it's granted, it is provided for by the law. So this investigation is not an end in itself. Whoever is not satisfied, we will take it to the level of the Supreme Court. Our concern here is not about jurors. Our concern here is the verdict that was returned. Tweh is a key way. To destroy that verdict is a Pandora box opening for the government. One, let me tell you the danger of what happened here today. In the future, if any other government, I'm not saying the government, but any other government has a case, an interest in a case, and then there is the one a particular defendant to be guilty, and that defendant is not guilty, they can look for 1 or 2 persons among the juror or any other person to file a complaint of this nature, of juror misconduct, and juror tampering, and they will conduct the investigation and revise that verdict. That is the clever attempt to undermine the clause in the Constitution we call the principle of double jeopardy. This is the danger. It is not something just such people will not understand about what is happening now. But what is happening now is dangerous for tomorrow. That tomorrow another government, working for anybody in this government, to go after them to have them prosecuted, and they fail to prosecute them and the jury returns a verdict. They can do the same kangaroo thing and then manufacture complainants as affidavits in the same case and allow them to come and file something, and at the end of the day, the judge can say, okay, Nigeria temporary, even though I am not in terms. This case started February, it ended March. The judge is hearing a case in February, in August.
Do you think those that complain were paid? Those that complain, the 3 jurors that complain from the council, do you think they were paid to do so?
The 3 jurors? Of course they were paid. They were under control. You guys did not take part in the investigation.
You did.
The 3 jurors. First of all, the writing of the 3 jurors, it was a lawyer that wrote the writing. Okay. The lawyers that were representing the 3 jurors were the same lawyers sharing the same desk with the prosecution. Allegations in that particular investigation show that the Solicitor General is a boyfriend to the head of the jury, one of the jurors who complained.
Because the judge, they couldn't be proven.
Listen now.
The judge were not proven.
Listen, what you say the judge in sales prices, sales of the jurors said, all of the time they were in there, the poor lady used to tell them that the man is her boyfriend and she loved the way the man can dress. So they decided calling him in their testimonial. Because I sat in the case from the beginning to the end. That they call the Solicitor General as Papa. They used to call him our Pa. And then they call the poor lady our Ma. Those were things that were in the same. For the judge to say that what you process that he gave to say that indeed. So the whole thing is, what the judge is doing there is a ruling. It left with any of the parties to take advantage of the statute and the law controlling. You have another question?
In this level, what are you telling your client when he succumb to the court, or like he said on spoon, he will not succumb to the court at all?
That's what we're discussing.
Are you prepared?
So what does this mean for your client? You know, this
it's not my client. What happened today is for the country. You didn't understand the argument I gave you? What happened here is for the country. Don't mind because Ada Johnson representing Senator Tweh. Some people want to vilify him. No. Ada Johnson can represent another person. Even in the drugs case now, there are people that Kim Desai will represent them. So I represent them. Now let me tell you something. I don't know what the problem some of you have in this country about Ada Johnson. And this is something I took off. If I was going to represent any of the guys in the drug case, tell like that some of you crossing me on his Facebook. All the love representing people, nobody disrespecting them. Why do I live? That's my profession. I'm not a partisan. I'm a lawyer. I represent my client with all of my mind because that's the ethics I took to represent the man to the fullest. Now, what does this brother make of the country? Not Samuel Tweh. Samuel Tweh, if I would concern honor the law, he's a free man. What happens, what they brother for this country is tomorrow. And this is the precedent. It means that when the verdict comes out tomorrow and they find somebody guilty, even if the man spent 2 months or 1 month in the community, he rejoicing. Somebody can just try and find a paper in there and say, during our hearing, we discover something, and that judge can come and hear it and set that verdict aside. It violates double jeopardy and due process. The Supreme Court of the United States that will cover all of our precedents from issues that exist in Liberia that cannot be, that do not exist, that there is no law on, says when you have disbanded the jury and they go into the community, to bring them back is unconstitutional. It's legally improper and dangerous. That is what the law says.
Can we infer any political manipulation given what has happened to the public? Can we infer any political manipulation with the judge given what we've heard from ministers?
Well, Samuel Tweh spoke from his own perspective. For me, I'm only a lawyer. The man is a former finance minister. And being the former finance minister, one of the most powerful presidents that has served in government. Next to the president in any country. So maybe he spoke for his clear intentions of intelligence, who gave him information, whoever.
Counsel, how prepared is the defense to proceed with this trial?
I want the government to say this.
Counsel, what will be your next trial? What will be your next trial?
No, we went Supreme Court. We're taking it up. We're testing the law. Our duty as lawyer is to test the law. We don't put our personals in the case. We're testing the law. So we're going to the Supreme Court to see whether the judge has jurisdiction, whether the decision he took, he has. The lawyer representing the jurors will have their own to say. The lawyers representing the defendants who had the verdict will have their own to say, because we have our own to say that the judge has no jurisdiction, and two, that the jury have been disbanded, and because they are disbanded, you calling them back is unconstitutional. It's illegal. Yeah.
Council, people following will be concerned. So should prepare to take exception to this matter. Will your client be affiliated or will you be taking away the process? What's the figure of the client at this moment?
Let me tell you what they call due process and criminal justice process. In the criminal justice system, that's CJ 101. When a case comes to court and the man has a bond, he files a bond, he goes to trial. If he's guilty, he announces an appeal to the Supreme Court. The judge in that court that is found guilty before cannot arrest him. That bond suffices up to the level he reaches to the Supreme Court until the Supreme Court can affirm the guilty verdict. And they'll give you an example. And then when you confirm the guilty verdict, then they say the bond is set aside, the memo set aside. That's the only condition under which the bond is set aside. he has a criminal appearance bond, it is a bailable offense. Jailing people is not the proof of guilt. Conviction by the court of competent jurisdiction and the jury, selected by the agreement and the understanding by the consent of the defendant, is what matters. Jailing is not the proof of guilt. Accusation is different from proof.
So you go to jail?
So you get an answer a question again?
Yeah. Those are being convicted before and Samuel Tweh and by the juror. So in this investigation, so their own issue will be restart back or that one in a separate case.
The entire case, from my understanding where the case is now, I think it covers the entire, because they were collectively accused and tried. They were not separately tried. So it's other than in one. If there's no question.
How do you describe this court ruling today, counsel?
I told you already I'm going to the Supreme Court. Then you say I describe it.
So I want to say thanks so much. That was the voice of Arthur Johnson, the lead lawyer who was representing ex-finance minister Samuel V. Tweh, speaking to us. So we've been here at the Criminal Court CE again into the juror tempering of Samuel Tweh. So the George Fekia had just ordered the arrest of the 14th jury. George Fekia have just ordered the arrest of the 14th jury who was involved into jury tempering. So I want to say thanks so much for always So I want to say thank you so much. Now I'll put it in here. You've been following this.
Several other former officials and several other former officials of government during the past just minus via between. Remember, this case has generated enormous public interest. Not only because of the senior positions once held by these accused or former government officials, but also because of the serious allegation brought against them and the legal development that has followed with this particular economic sabotage case involving former finance minister. So the Minister of Justice has indicted former finance minister. The Minister of Justice has indicted former finance minister Samuel D. Tweh, former Minister of Justice Councillor Yanti Tweh, and former Financial Intelligence Agency Director Sterling Ford, and former FIA Controller General Moses P. Cooper was also acquitted here by 9 jurors at the Criminal Court C. Remember, folks, this prosecution alleged that the defendants in this particular case were involved in offenses relating to mismanagement and the expenditure of public funds, especially talking about the withdrawal of $1 billion Liberian dollars and US $500,000 from the government of Liberia consolidated accounts. So among the charges were economic sabotage, theft of property, money laundering, criminal facilitation, and criminal conspiracy. All of these former government officials was indicted on these following charges. Well, on the other hand, during the proceeding of this particular case, the defense consistently to deny every allegation, levied against them with the government of Liberia on this particular economic sabotage case involving former finance minister. Defense lawyer argued that the government has failed to provide sufficient evidence linking their client to several criminal conduct. Throughout the trial a few months ago, both the prosecution lawyers and that of the defense lawyer presented witnesses from different government institutions. We saw the lack of the former deputy minister at the Ministry of Finance, Stanley Bronson, who also testified that she had no clue of said amount being transferred, and of course her signature has not been on any documents as it relates to this particular amount in question. Two former retired security apparatus, Daniel Zianga and Prissy Johnson, also took the witness stand here at Criminal Court C. Remember, this case took over four months, some weeks here at the Criminal Court C, where Samuel Tweh, was pleading not guilty by 9 jurors and has been acquitted. But again, the proceeding, you know, is the latest among several others in this particular case involving Samuel D. Tweh. Remember, under the Liberian legal systems, jurors are ordinary citizens like yourself, and you know they have been selected to hear and you know on this particular case, and also you know giving all of the evidence presented to them during this particular trial. So their responsibility is to decide their responsibility is not to decide, you know, on public opinion, you know, political affiliation, for which some have described, you know, this particular juror investigation case, you know, involving these 15th juror. So their duty is to elevate or to evaluate only this particular evidence being presented to them in court and determine whether the prosecution has proven all of the charges beyond reasonable doubt, for which they did a few months ago, that Mr. Samuel D. Tweh and that of the Financial Intelligence Agency Controller Moses P. Cooper was acquitted. So former Finance Minister Samuel D. Tweh and the Controller General Moses Cooper, remember, they were found not guilty on this charge. But shockingly today, the court here with the presiding judge Usman Fiaka has ruled on all of the allegations leveled against the 15 jurors here, and of course. He has ordered the immediate arrest of all of these jurors here to the Monrovia Central Prison. Of course, a retrial will be held involving Mr. Samuel D. Tweh. As you all are aware, Samuel D. Tweh was on one of the media outlets where he said that he will not succumb to any retrial. But again, his legal counselor, Arthur T. Johnson, Dr. Professor Arthur T. Johnson, has found an exception to this particular case, and he, according to him, you listen to him when we have this exclusive interview with him right here at the court entrance, where he said the matter will be taken to the Supreme Court of Liberia. So they maintain that the prosecution maintain that the defendants have failed to meet the burden of proof required in this particular criminal charges. That according to this, criminal convictions cannot be based on suspicion.